Fire Sword, Chapter 15, Heartfire. Lucina felt Robin's hand squeeze her shoulders gently as he pulled her face closer to his. There was no doubt in his pale eyes, only determination and sincerity. They were, she thought, the most wonderful eyes that she had ever seen. Then they closed as Robin's shaky breath caressed her own mouth. Her own eyes closed on reflex, and her mouth parted slightly. Part of her screamed that she should stop, retreat from this path, of which there was no return. But that last, small flame was stuffed out by Robin's gentle lips as he pressed them softly against hers, and his arm slid around from her shoulders to encircle her back. In response, her own hand grasped his head and pulled him in closer, while her other arm wrapped around his neck. They remained like that, each one wanting the moment to last for all eternity. Unfortunately, two things stopped them. The first was that they needed to breathe. The second thing, which more stopped them from resuming the contact, was the sound of a sword being drawn. The new couple turned to see Chrom, with falchion in hand, one eye twitching crazily. "Robin," he said in a deceptively mild voice, "how courageous of you to offer yourself in the service of the front lines in the assault against Fort Steiger in a few weeks." Kazuto was finishing packing up the chessboard as he heard Chrom and Robin yelling throughout the camp. Frowning, he went outside to see what all the commotion was about, only to have Robin dash right by him, Chrom not far behind. And why Chrom looked so angry, Kazuto couldn't figure out. Seeing Asuna walk up to him, he frowned and asked, "So, any idea as to why Chrom's chasing Robin around with falchion like he wants to kill him?" "I think Lucina has something to do with it," Asuna giggled. What?" Kazuto asked, even more confused than before. "Oh, come on. Even you have to notice how Robin acts around Chrom's little girl," his wife said as she ribbed him gently with an elbow. "From what I can tell, the Shepherds might just have their newest couple." "Oh," Kazuto said, his eyes widening slightly. "I thought they weren't a thing yet." "Well, if Robin survives, I think that they will be," Asuna giggled again. Surprisingly, it was Sumiya that saved Robin from her husband. As the tactician dashed by, she interposed herself between herself and a charging Chrom. When he stopped in front of her and drew a breath to explain, she raised a fist and he immediately shut his mouth. "That's better," she said. "Lucina explained everything to me just now, and I approve. So if you hurt Robin in any way because of this, you will answer to me. Got it?" Chrom had immediately agreed, remembering all too well the last time his wife had, quote-unquote, slapped him. Before Robin could thank the Pegasus Knight, she rounded on him and said, "Robin, if you ever make my little girl cry anything other than tears of joy, I'll be the one ending your existence. Got it?" "Yes, your majesty," he answered, fearing one of her famous slaps. "Good," Sumiya had said with a bright smile, suddenly back to her old cheerful self. "Do be sure to take Lucina shopping for a nice dress sometime, okay? Just don't let her pick the color theme." And she started to walk away before she was struck by one final thought. "Oh, and Robin?" "Yes," he had said, recognizing the change in her tone. "Touch her anywhere you shouldn't, and I won't kill you." She turned around with a look that made Kazuto nervous, and it wasn't even directed at him. "You just wish that Chrom had got to you first." Then she walked away, leaving both Robin and Chrom feeling very, very frightened and vulnerable. "Did you know she was going to be like that as a mother when you first married her?" Robin asked his friend, forgetting that he had been the one threatening him moments ago. "Nope," Chrom said as he stared after his wife, who promptly tripped on a tent peg. "But either way, I'm just glad she didn't give me that look." Lucina had just finished talking to her mother after she had addressed the issue with Chrom and Robin, and now she was on her way to apologize to Robin for her father's actions. Even with the antics of her family, her heart felt lighter than it had in years. She didn't know how, but she knew that somehow Robin would find a way for her to be able to stay here, in this timeline, where she knew she belonged. She smiled as she thought, "I even get to be on my first crush. A dream not afforded to many women." "Hold," a dark, cold voice said. Lucina stopped jogging and stood stiff as she recognized the voice. "Where do you think you're off to?" "I am on my way to speak with Robin," Lucina said stiffly as she turned to face Tharja, who was not 10 feet away. "Can I help you with anything before I go, Lady Tharja?" "Yes," the sorceress said sourly with burning eyes. "Stay away from my Robin. Besides, it's past your bedtime, isn't it, child?" Lucina's teeth ground in anger as she retorted, "I am your princess, so you have no right in telling me what to do, witch. Go back to your spells before I have you punished on grounds of insubordination." Tharja's lips twitched upwards once as if she were amused. "We both know that's not entirely true. You may be a princess, but not in this timeline. And even if you were, I'm plebeian by birth, so you are not my ruler. Ergo, you have no authority over me, little girl." "That's so," a new voice broke in. Both women were surprised to see Kirito walk into their midst, a small frown set on his brow and his lips set in a thin line. Ah, yes, Tharja said, her smile growing. Good to see that you've returned, boy. Have you obtained the hair sample I asked of you yet? I never agreed to get it for you, and you know that, Kirito replied tersely. In fact, as one of your commanding officers, I'm getting pretty tired of your attitude, as are a number of the other shepherds. Oh? Tharja smirked again. And what will you do about it, little boy? Yell at me? Tell me to drop down and give you 50? If you don't have what I asked for, then I have no interest in speaking to you. Shoo now, I'm in the middle of Tharja on grounds of disrespecting a superior officer of the Halidom, stalking and threatening a comrade. I could have you sent back to the next vessel to Elise to face trials where you'd be looking at 30 years in prison if you're lucky, Kirito said in a very flat voice. See, to be a part of the Shepherds officially, which you are, seeing as you get a paycheck from them, you have to be registered as a citizen of Elise. And what you just said about Lucina could qualify as treason. A pretty serious crime, unless I'm mistaken. Tharja paled and Kirito smirked. Now, Robin might be a really nice guy, and under most circumstances, so am I, he continued. But not this time. I'm going to have to put my foot down and order you, as a senior in this military, to stop your stalking habits, stay away from Lucina, and show some proper respect for the country you now serve. If I hear anything but good news about you, I will have you placed under arrest with charges of minor treason against the Halidom and disrespecting a superior officer. And I will get Robin to back me. Robin would never send me to prison, Tharja chuckled. After all, he is my destined one. Nothing can keep us apart. Or am I wrong, princess? She looked over at Lucina, who simply cocked her head, not understanding. Tharja sighed dramatically and said, Well, it's quite obvious that Robin chose me in the future to be his lifelong partner. He obviously doesn't have eyes for anyone else. I don't know what you're talking about, Lucina said, puzzled. What in the world went through Tharja's mind she'd never understand. Robin never married in my timeline, and he certainly never spent any exclusive time with you, Lady Tharja. You see, even you can... The sorceress blinked once. What? Robin doesn't love you, Kirito snorted. He doesn't even like you. What in the world has he ever done that would make you think that? Lies! Tharja shrieked. You both lie! He cares about me. He wants me to be here with him. He told me that he never wanted to see me leave this new life instead of the one that I had found back in Plesia. You lie, and now you shall pay! She whipped out a dark tone, much to Kirito and Lucina's surprise. It seemed that hearing the news that she had never married Robin from Lucina, a brutally honest character, had made her snap. Ah, crap, Kirito said, sweating lightly. Neither you nor his pet fairy will get in my way, princess! Tharja shrieked, the air around her swirling with runes. Robin belongs to me! Just before the spell could be cast, there was a blur of white wings, and Tharja was sent rolling in the dust. Yeah, no, she kind of reminds me of Grimlock now that I think about it, Asuna said over her shoulder. She seems to think that somehow possession equals love. Yeah, Kirito grinned, slightly embarrassed that his wife had to come in and save him. Thanks for the save, honey. No problem, she smiled warmly. Her gaze turned cold, though, when Tharja got up off the ground, hissing to herself and glaring at Asuna. Using the tone that she had on the subordinates back in Old Aincrad, Asuna said, Tharja, for attempting to assault a superior officer, you are under arrest and will face additional charges. Resistance will only add to the charges and you will be detained indefinitely. Tharja's response was to start giggling maniacally. Go ahead, arrest me, she giggled. It won't matter. Robin will save me. He loves me, do you hear me? Not some spoiled castle brat that thinks she can have whatever she wants! Kirito started forward in anger, but a new voice broke in. Well, this is disturbing, Robin said as he walked up behind Lucina, slightly startling his comrades. Tharja began to smile even wider, clearly mad at this point. Ha! She groaned. You see, he comes to rescue me from you, craven filthy! Be quiet, Tharja, Robin said with a hard look. As you wish, my love, she giggled, swaying as she walked up to him with her arms outstretched. Silence me with your... let me rephrase that, he said as she came within reaching distance of Asuna and Kirito. Shut up, or I'll let my pet fairy loose on you. Kirito scowled at the name Robin used, but he decided to let it slide this time. There was something more important happening right now. Oh? Tharja giggled. What a naughty boy you are, Robin. I'll have to teach you some manners about how to treat your beloved. Robin looked over at Kirito and nodded once. The Spriggan moved fast, kicking Tharja behind the knee so she collapsed backwards with her legs under her, restricting her movements. He immediately pinned her arms under his legs and hands as Asuna moved to hold her down by the thighs. You're under arrest for a whole bunch of things, Tharja, he said. Looking up, he said, Lucina, grab something to bind her with. The princess ran off to do so, even as Tharja wriggled in vain. Robin looked at the dark mage with a mixture of pity and disgust. Oh, I see. Tharja giggled loudly. You want to take me out here, my love? You want to bind me with ropes to make you your servant tonight? Well, you'll have to work for it! And she struggled to break free all the more, but to no avail. Kirito looked up at his friend and said, Seriously, man? You couldn't see that she needed to be dealt with till just now. In my defense, I was busy coordinating an army, Robin replied with a little heat. I didn't have time to notice creepy stalkers. There are more than me, Tharja screeched. Who have you been keeping by your side without my knowledge? Tell me their names, and I shall curse them unto death. Tell me! What is going on? Chrom said as he walked in on the scene. Kirito, Asuna, explain yourselves. They're acting under my orders, Chrom, Robin said to save time. Tharja has, in a few words, become dangerous to the environment of the shepherds. We need to send her away, at least for a little while. Kirito muttered something under his breath, but the two Elysians ignored him. What did she do that warrants suspicion from the shepherds? He asked his best friend. She threatened Kirito and Asuna for starters, Robin replied. She incessantly stalks me and keeps trying to hex me by muddling with my senses, thus possibly affecting my ability to lead in battle. She threatens people all the time. She's never actually managed to hex you, Chrom countered. Maybe she needs to cool off in her tent for a bit. Robin scowled, frustrated with his friend's excessively trusting nature. Then it hit him, and he smiled devilishly. She threatened Lucina with dark magic, he said casually. Chrom's eye twitched. I want her the next supply ship back to Elise and make sure there are 2 guards on her every hour of the day after you've seized all of her magic equipment. Then he walked off with a flip of his cape. Thanks, Robin, Asuna said with a small grin. We owe you. No, it is I who owes you. Robin sighed as he looked down at the writhing sorceress, who was now resorting to biting at Kirito as he held her down. He was able to avoid her teeth, but it was still annoying. I should have addressed this issue a long time ago. I am sorry. Okay, Kirito growled as he shifted to avoid another bite. You owe me an Asuna night at one of those hot spring resorts I've heard about someday. This is so not in my job description. Deal, Robin grinned. Turning to see a welcome sight, he said, and there's Lucina, right in time with some rope. Tharja was taken away on an armed carriage back to one of the ports that Elise had secured, where she would be taken back to the Holodom, either to face trial or be deported to Plegia. Maribel's father would be handling the case, as Chrom and Robin both trusted his judgment in matters of the law. More than likely, the witch would be held in a prison, where they would attempt to rehabilitate her unstable mind frame. Henry had cast a reflection hex on the bindings around Tharja, so that even if she did manage to work some magic without her tools, they would bounce right back and hit her instead of her guards. As she was taken away, screaming and crying for Robin, Lucina looked downcast. I suppose that this is my fault, she said softly. Robin dropped his arm around Lucina's shoulders and shook his head, but it was Kirito who spoke next. You're no more responsible for her going crazy than I am for Kuradil trying to kill me and killing Godfrey, he said tightly. Some people are just crazy, and there's nothing you or I can do about it, Lucina. All we can try to do is live our lives in a way that we can be proud of when all is said and done. Yes, she exhaled and straightened. You are right, Sir Kirito. Thank you for your words. And she gave him a respectful bow, which he returned. Well then, Robin said as they straightened, let's get packed and moving. By the way, Kirito, I need to interview your friend, Celica, if that's all right with you. Things were moving too fast last night for me to get around to it. I can introduce you to Jerome while he fetches his friend, Lucina suggested as Kirito went to pack his things and rouse Yui from her sleep. I would appreciate that, Robin said with a small smile as he planted a kiss on Lucina's cheek, causing her to flush beet red. Let's go meet this wyvern rider friend of yours. He's Church's son, right? Hey guys, not your average Joe here, Mataris, whatever you want to call me. I just wanted to say real quick, I'm sorry I haven't been posting videos too regularly these last few weeks. It's been really crazy. Been looking for a new job. I had to move apartments because, as I mentioned before, my last one got flooded with sewer water, so that wasn't exactly healthy living. So I've been in the middle of trying to find a new one, secure all the payments, and it's been crazy. So I just wanted to let you guys know I am going to be resuming a more regular uploading schedule from now on. But in addition to that, I also kind of want to start doing an author's footnote in the forms of these videos at the end of these audio chapters, because I'd like to explain a little bit about what went into each chapter when I was writing them at the time, at least as far back as I can remember, because I think it's been a couple of years since I did Fire Sword. But so yeah, for this chapter, Heartfire. This is the chapter where I had Lucina and Robin officially come together, but I also knew that would cause problems with Tharja, so I decided that I would just kind of nip that in the bud and get her out of the way as soon as possible. And I remember at the time, a few people were not happy with how I treated Tharja, but I stand by my decision. And a little bit of my personal life bleeds into this, honestly, because I had a problem with a stalker at one point, and I wish I could have dealt with it that swiftly, but crazy people. Um, yeah. So Tharja, she just kind of makes me uncomfortable in general as a character in Fire Emblem, and like pretty much in all the fan stories that I've read. There's only been a couple where I can kind of get behind her character because that just brings up bad memories for me. Um, but yeah, so this chapter was mostly a mini resolution chapter, you might say, because we get Lucina and Robin together, we have Tharja dealt with, but we move on towards. We leave a little bit at the end for some new shepherds. They're coming into the ranks. We're going to see them a little bit more in action in the next chapters. Um, let's see, but yeah, I remember this was. You might notice that this chapter is kind of shorter than some of the other ones that I've done because, like I said, it was kind of an uncomfortable topic for me. So maybe that affected my writing a little bit more negatively than it should have in this instant. But I mean, it is what it is. Like I said, I wrote this a couple years ago. The best I can do is work. The best I can do is work with what I got, and just try to do better in the future. I like putting bits of myself into the story, but I don't know if I made a mistake with that here. But I don't know. You guys tell me what you think. Please leave a comment in the section below. Be sure to like and subscribe. Share this with your friends, especially if they're an SAO or a Fire Emblem fan. And I will see you guys for the next video. Take care. Red Swordsman out.